Good morning. Today is Tuesday, the 11th of August, and today we are in Ecclesiastes chapter 2, and we're going to be looking at verses 12 through 26, the end of that chapter. So, the heading that I have for this passage says, "The end of the wise and the fool." So it's a contrast. Verse 12, he says, "Then I turned myself to consider wisdom, and madness and folly. For what can a man do who succeeds the king? Only what he has already done. Then I saw that wisdom excels folly, as light excels darkness. The wise man's eyes are in his head, but the fool walks in darkness. Yet I myself perceived that the same event happens to them all. So I said in my heart, as it happens to the fool, it also happens to me. And why was I then more wise? Then I said in my heart, this also is vanity. For there is no more remembrance of the wise than of the fool forever. Since all that now is will be forgotten in the days to come. And how does a wise man die? As a fool, same as a fool. Verse 17, therefore, I hated life, because the work that was done under the sun was distressing to me. For all is vanity and grasping for the wind. Then I hated all my labor in which I had toiled under the sun, because I must leave it to the man who will come after me. And who knows whether he will be wise or a fool? Yet he will rule over all my labor, in which I toiled, and in which I have shown myself wise under the sun. This also is vanity. Therefore, I turned my heart and despaired of all the labor in which I had toiled under the sun. For there is a man whose labor is with wisdom, knowledge, and skill, yet he must leave his heritage to a man who has not labored for it. This also is vanity, and a great evil. For what has man for all his labor, and for all the striving of his heart, with which he has toiled under the sun? For all his days are sorrowful, and his work burdensome. Even in the night his heart takes no rest. This also is vanity. Nothing is better for a man than that he should eat and drink, and that his soul may enjoy good in his labor. This also I saw was from the hand of God. For who can eat, or who can have enjoyment more than I? For God gives wisdom and knowledge and joy to a man who is good in his sight. But to the sinner, he gives the work of gathering and collecting, that he may give to him who is good before God. This also is vanity and grasping for the wind. How does one what is one's worldview? What is the importance of having a solid understanding and worldview. And how does that shape how we approach life? You see, if you are a secularist and you don't believe in the Bible, you don't believe in God, you believe in, you make your own destiny, that we evolved and we there's no creator, there's no eternity, there's no heaven, there's no hell, there's just what's here in this life, that shapes how you approach life. And that's what we see in our society today. How do people live their life? They live their life with an understanding that this is all there is. And I might as well eat, drink, and be merry and enjoy what this world has to offer. And who cares what anybody else thinks? Just do it. However, if you have a worldview that, and the problem here's the problem. I'll give you the Christian worldview here in a moment. But the problem is that most people live with a convoluted, mixed up worldview. And so I gave you the secular worldview that says there is no God, there's no accountability, everyone just does, whatever pleases you, you might as well do it, because once you die, that's it. Okay, the Christian worldview, or the biblical worldview, however you want to phrase that, says that we were created by God for God's glory and for his purpose. That the chief end of man is to glorify God and to enjoy him forever. That there is life beyond the grave, and that we need to invest our life in eternal things, the souls of men and the Word of God. Jesus said, lay up your treasure in heaven, where moth can't eat it, where rust can't corrupt it, where thieves can't steal it. And so that sets our priorities in the way we should order our life. The problem is most people, even Christians, are practical atheists. And what I mean by that is they say with their mouth on one side that, yeah, I believe in God, I believe in the Creator, I believe that he has a plan and purpose for my life, I believe that I believe the Bible, I believe Jesus died on the cross for my sins, he was buried, rose again the third day. I believe, I say over here, I believe all that, but I live my life as if there is no God. I live my life to please myself. I live my life to please the flesh, the world, the flesh, the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, the pride of life. I feed the flesh. I live my life. I have a dualistic view of life. I say I believe in God, but I live my life as if there is no God. And that's what most people do. And that is totally okay with the devil. You see, the devil wants Christians to live like that. But the Bible has a lot to say about Christians who live a life that's dualistic. To the church at Ephesus in Revelation, he said, you've left your first love. You're going through the motions, you're going through the ritual, you're going through the religious activity, but you don't really love me. Then you had the church at Laodicea. They thought they had it all together. They thought they were rich. They thought they could see really well. Spiritually, they had discernment. They thought all these things, but they didn't realize they were poor, sick, and blind, and spiritually destitute. They were going through the motions, but they left God out of their life. They said all the right things, but they lived a life that wasn't pleasing to God. They were lukewarm in their faith. And God said, I'd rather you be hot or cold, but because you're lukewarm, I'm going to spit you out of my mouth. I'm going to vomit you out of my mouth. You see, a dualistic worldview or lifestyle makes God sick. And as we have read what Solomon had to say is that if you're living your life for pleasure, it's like grasping the wind. It's all vanity. And yet that's what so many people do. They go through their life worried about their stuff. Vanity of vanities. The fact of the matter is, no matter how you live your life, everybody's going to die. So the issue becomes is does the way we live our life today affect eternity? Because what Solomon is concluding for us is that all the stuff that has to do with this world, this earth, we all wind up in the same boat. Poor, rich, wise, or fool, we wind up in the same boat. We wind up in a casket. And so, where does that leave us? Well, we're not there yet, but as you read through the book of Ecclesiastes, you find out he comes to the right conclusion, that the chief end of man is to glorify God and to enjoy him forever. The New Testament says it this way: whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do all for the glory of God. It's not about how much stuff you have. I've been to Africa. I've been to some very poor places. And I've seen Christians living in a little hut with a dirt floor. And so thankful and so gracious. And so willing and longing to share their blessings with others. It's a humbling thing. I've seen a woman just praising God for the roof that she has over her head and the beautiful home that God has provided for her and her family. And it's literally one room with a dirt floor. No glass or screens in the windows. And just thankful. Thankful to God for what God has provided. And it literally made me feel ashamed. The wise and the fool both die. How we spend eternity depends is the issue. And how we live our lives, how we set our priorities is the issue. Do you believe in God? Do you believe that there is an eternity? Then set your priorities with that in mind. That's all I have for today. I hope you have a blessed day. We'll see you again tomorrow.